Good morning, everyone. Uh, this is Ron. I wanted to talk to us this morning about this journey that we're on. Uh, I have a fascination with Abraham, and I want to kind of look at him because Abraham, uh, Abraham's journey is the same journey that we're on, and it all the encounters that he has, all the battles that he fights, all the wells that he digs, and all of these things that he encounters uh, is very similar to what we're going through today, and that's something we miss when we look at the scriptures. Or at least some of us that are a lot older, I guess, we've been taught that these are things that happened way back when. And when you look at it from that perspective, it's not something that you can internalize if you see it as mere history. But it is not mere history. It is something that talks to your soul, the vibrations that you feel are very real. That lets you know that this is not just talking about me. This is talking about the characteristics in me that needs to be awakened so that I too can be one with Elohim, or recognize who I truly am as being a spiritual being and not just being a mere man. Okay, so I just want to talk briefly about Abraham this morning, and I want to. My center of what we're going to talk about is in chapter 17 of Genesis. But I want to start because I read something the other night that kind of fascinated me in Genesis 11, verse 31. I'm going to read verse 31 in chapter 11 of Genesis, kind of set the tone, and then we'll go from there, okay? It says, "And Terah took Abram his son, and Lot the son of Haran, his grandson, and Sarah his daughter-in-law, and his son's Abram's wife. And they went out together from Ur of the Chaldees in order to enter the land of Canaan. And they went as far as Haran and settled there." Just to Terah is Abram's father. And Terah was the one that was originally called by God. It does not talk about that in Genesis, but that is documented in another place in Scripture. But as you look at this, he goes and he takes his family. He says he took Lot, the son of Haran. Haran was his son that died. So Abram sort of takes Lot under his wing, and he's following his father. Abram is following his father on this journey. So the funny thing is, though, that they end up in Ur, and he journeys on and finds the land of Canaan, and they went as far as Haran and settled there. So that's extremely significant. If you look at this, these two towns, Ur and Haran, were very significant in this day. Ur at least was a port city that was between two larger cities. So when you see this, he's right in the middle of everything here. It's not only a port city, it's where a lot of trades and goods are being sold, and so is Haran. Haran is also a big city. But the thing that jumped out at me with this is the primary god in these two places, in Ur and Haran. The name of the god was Sin, Sin, and he stays there. Sin is the god of the moon. It means the light of the moon, the shining of the moon is what they worship, and I just thought that was significant to look at, that you would be worshiping a God with that name, So it just kind of sets the mark of his journey as Abram takes off here. Because when his father stops, God calls Abram out and says, "Come, go with me." And you'll see that in the start of verse 12. Just leave everything. Leave the culture that that is established. Leave the things that you are aware of. In other words, what's significant about this is your level of awareness is where you have your experiences with the Creator. So, for example, Abraham led Isaac to Abraham took Isaac as far as he could take him, as far as his establishing who God is in his life. So you see where it says the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is saying Abraham introduces his son to God. But it comes a point in his maturity that he has to take this journey on his own. He has to step out and understand who he is and his relationship with God. So he uses that awareness as his foundation. That awareness is his faith. That awareness is his hope. And he moves to a place of assurance because of his experiences on his own that he builds up with the Creator. And same goes with his son. So you look at that and the Hebrew word for son and daughter, the root of it talks about to build something, to build onto something, to be stronger, to make this, to build this thing up. But what he says to Abraham is just the opposite. God says, go forth from your home, from your relatives, from your father's house. In other words, do not take this awareness with you. Walk away from the sin that you have come to worship. Walk away from the God that your father has introduced you to. Walk away from your relatives and the family and the culture that you have come to be comfortable with. I want to take you away from all of that. And I want you to trust me to take you to something better. Okay? Any questions about this so far? Because I'm going to move from here to chapter 17. Any questions, y'all?
I have one.
Yes, ma'am.
Was he telling Abraham to walk away from religion?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And the good part about that, Evelyn, is as I said, it's sometimes how we've been taught to study the scriptures. We don't know how to relate it that way. Abraham marks every journey that walks away. It is the blueprint. It is the footprint that we all follow. So Abraham is not to just see him as a mere man, but see him as a concept. See him as a principle that leads you to Elohim, leads you to understanding who the true Evelyn is.
Okay.
And what you find is where we're going to this. In this, the name change is when you move to the point where you see that Evelyn and Elohim are the same. We're one and the same, and I accept that. And as I become comfortable with that, I learn to trust it, and I become that concept. I become that trust and that enlightenment that people see in the earth. Okay.
So after me,
when
I leave religion and my family and just say religion. When I leave religion, then that's when I find me. That's when I start knowing, I find me. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. What this is saying is especially for the people on this phone, and I know that because we keep coming back on this phone, each and every one of us had this conversation. This is an internal conversation. This isn't something that God sent somebody to talk to Abraham. This is coming from his heart. This is internal. And this starts with you you questioning things and evaluating things long before you get to this point. So this may have started in you when you were a child or little in your adolescent ages, and you see church or you see the way things are done through religion as you go from church to church or whatever, and you wonder, is there more? Or do I see God in this? Or yes, I'm moved by the music, or I'm moved by this, but is that all there is? Is this all there is? Is this as close as I get to God? Or why do we go through this? Why do I feel this way? Why are the races like this? Why? So you move to that place and you find out that there's a voice inside of you that wants to start answering this, that wants to start bringing you comfort. That is the journey of the Abraham that is in you.
Ron? Mr. Ron?
Well,
Yes.
I have a question. This is Myra on the line. My question is this. God called Abraham out. I can't help but to ask the question. Abraham went with him willingly. Well, I guess why didn't God just get some boats off the coast of West Africa and tell us go to the Americas? Why was that journey so painful, so brutal to the Africans and to their descendants that still impact us right now? Why couldn't it be voluntary? Why do we have to go through that when I'm looking at Abraham?
Abraham, I do believe, and we've talked about it, Myra, and we've studied this. These Hebrews that the Bible are talking about are the people from Africa. These are the people from Africa. It looks like, and the way this is written, it looked like this was just the first time God spoke to him. He just automatically takes off. We don't know all the time that it is that easy. It can be. There are times that the Creator talks to us that we leave and walk on a journey that He sets off, and then there's times that we question it. But I understand what you're saying. I think what takes place is we were the original Hebrews. And somebody can help me with this. We were the original Hebrews and not the European Jews that you see now. And I think the understanding of the African and his oneness with the Creator, he walked away from that, or he forgot who he was. So as the scriptures say, and I can't remember where it is, where it talks about God says, I will bring him back to me if I have to do it in change. In other words, a lot of times, Myra, if you think about it, it takes hardship for us to call out the Creator. It takes these things for us to realize who we are and to recognize that we have walked away from the Creator. So I see what you mean, and I too question some of the hardship. In fact, I was talking to someone about that just this morning. Sometimes I lose my focus, but I wonder where we are if we don't have these hardships. I wonder if we ever had a chance to be worldly and be successful in the earth and have the jobs that we want and the money that we want. Would we be would there be anyone in the earth that had a heart for the Creator, who would really cry out and be willing to forsake everything and forget everything about religion and self, and start over with the Creator and start with a new level of awareness? So I don't know if I came close to answering your question, but somebody can help me out, please.
Yeah. Good morning, Ron. This is George in Philly, and I, appreciate, the question that was raised, and I think, for all of us, we're at a point, where the journey of self-awareness and self-creation, is the very intent, for all of us today. And for us to truly, understand our true nature and the consciousness of the desires that we have to know our birthright, it's important that we look at the story of Abram, that we're able to, understand that, we have a desire to really want to know our true selves. And I think that this is, part of us going through what we're going through, to be able to put it out there in the macro, that we can understand that, we are, Elohim having a human experience. And so, I think that, again, it's a very, great point of our conversation, just to be able to look at this teaching and to understand it in terms of where we are. I wanted to just share that thought.
Thank you, George. I agree with you. I agree with that. And it is a very good question. Excellent question. Anyone else? I saw something when George said that. As a black man, go ahead. Somebody else has something?
You can go ahead first.
Well, all I was going to say is that as a black man, and as my focus changes from me to the universe, which hasn't been that easy for me, it's hard to see the light that is in you when you constantly feel belittled. But more so, or just as important as the African being exemplified in the manner that we're looking at now, he's also torn down by the world. The significance of that is, if my focus can't just be on the fact that, look at what I'm going through, and I want to be enlightenment to the world. I want to show the world how to be peace. I have to also focus on the world that is focused on me. Can you imagine the world looking at you and seeing what we're going through, and seeing this man, this place, or these people still love God? These are the people who are truly the image and likeness of Elohim, and I didn't see it. And all they've gone through, all the enslavement, all the beatings, all the things that have happened, all the killings, they still have a heart for the Creator. So I'm learning from something George said that kind of sparked that. It's hard to see yourself from the eyes of other people, but that too has a significance, a role in all of this. So you're being light and recognizing that you're light. That is going to be the thing that people see. That is going to be the thing that illuminates to the earth, and people recognize there is something different here. There is something different about the African. After all he's gone through, look at who he is now. And I think we're being shaped and molded into that image, and without recognizing it. And I even think that's part of the you hear the people say we're less than human. I think that in itself is a recognition. That recognition is, this is not a human. I don't know what it is, but my arrogance tells me he's got to be less than me. So he must not be a human. He must be less than me. But I see that he's more than a human. But my ego won't let me give him that. So, we have to, we can turn this around and look at this and make all those negative things positive, and use these things as catalysts of fire to not inflame us, but to purify us and move us ahead to be who we're supposed to be. I don't know if that helped at all, but Sheldon, did you have something you wanted to add or say to that?
Yeah, it was along the same lines, and I just wanted to say that, well, first when you were starting off about the speaking of Abraham to leave his home, and Evelyn mentioning that what does that mean to leave religion, and is that, and is also the willingness to turn away, or not necessarily just turn away, but also to have the willingness to accept something different from what he was familiar with, and pretty much open himself up to change or experiencing something different. So is no different if, well, I really don't want to put him in the mindset of the equivalent of going to like counseling or therapy or something like that, but it's essentially the same thing. The willingness to explore something beyond what it was that he saw himself as, believed himself to be, and what he was comfortable with. And that in itself, as long as he also had the willingness to do that, which, well, not, it was paramount. It was something that automatically needed to happen. He had to have the willingness to make that journey before any of this other stuff could happen. And none of this could happen without him having that willingness. Even if he said, I'm going to do this, for example, if I say I'm going to counseling, I'm going to therapy, yes, I am doing that physically, but it's not going to be beneficial in a sense until I let go and let myself be transformed, or let myself explore other, I don't want to say other places, but explore places within myself that I was unwilling to explore before, and or I have never been. So that's we're starting off with that part in terms of leaving his home. In terms of the journey that took place and why it was so long, etc., as Ron said, all of this process, this entire time, things were going on. He was being transformed in a way to be more godlike, or I don't want to say to be more godlike. I guess to act more godlike, but also to become awareness of his godlikeness as well. So as I was speaking, is an old movie, of course, but I think back to Karate Kid with Mr. Miyagi, and Daniel had to do all of these things that, of course, on the surface seemed very trivial, just seemed like nonsense, wax on and wax off, things like that. But what he was doing with those little motions and those little small things is he was transforming himself in a way to those actions, those moves were becoming more so a natural part of him, or something that he was very, very familiar with, and it was becoming second hand nature. So in the same way as we just look at the journey as a whole and say, whoa, hardship, he basically went through hell, essentially. No, it was a lot more like, it was a lot more, to it. It was a transformation in the process that was actually taking place. I'm finished.
Thank you. I love the way we do this. We Evelyn and Myra ask a question, and George gave some insight, and he sparked something in me, and Sheldon ties it all together, and that's beautiful to me. I think everything that was said firmly fits. I love the questions, and I think that's, to me, that's the beauty of our lessons. when it all fits together and come together like that. So the questions are encouraged. Myra, does that answer your question, or are you, does that lead to another? Where are you? Are you comfortable with that? Okay. Well, I hope we answered the question satisfactorily. If not,
Hey,
we
Mr.
will visit
Ron.
it again. Hey.
Hey, you did. I was driving. So you did answer my question.
Okay.
Thank you guys for chiming in on that.
Thank you. Anytime. Any questions? Anyone else? Anyone else?
Ron,
Again,
this is Audrey.
Hey, Audrey.
I just want to point out that even though Abraham had the opportunity to accept that calling, it wasn't easy. And then look what happened to his descendants. You know, going into slavery in Egypt for 400 years. So it wasn't easy. And in terms of the Africans, we just don't know the whole story. All we
Correct.
see is the boats coming and bringing people, but we don't know the whole story. We don't know, we know a little bit about their relationship with the Creator, and that they had a profound understanding of who the Creator was and who they were in the beginning, but we don't know the middle part. So, so it's hard to say, you know, that Africans, of course, Africans really suffered, but still, we don't know the whole story. And the Abraham's descendants suffered too. But it all had to do with moving away from the Creator as opposed to coming closer to him.
Yeah. Very good point. And sometimes we open the scriptures and we look at them, and it does make it sound easy and make things sound instantaneous. But we know that it wasn't, because the journey Abraham ended up taking in the wilderness, the journey marks that transformation in there, and marks all the things that he went through. And it's just not talking about the wells that he dug and the encounters with the kings and the king of Sodom and Melchizedek and all the things that he had to encounter. All these are talking about having a character change. And as Sheldon pointed out, you know, the walking away was not just religion. It was all the things that was important to him. All the things that made him comfortable, all the things that made him Tehran's son, all the things that he had learned to make him feel important, or the status in his life, who he had built himself to be. And God is saying, no, you are much more than that. You are much more than an Abram. You are much more than Tehran's son. And as I pointed out, and I want us to see, is that same conversation may not have happened in those words, but that same conversation you had with the Creator and continuously have. And I'll just write.
A thought or a point I wanted to make earlier was that I never thought about that before, but it is so profound that God called him to walk away from everything he knew, every aspect of his life, all his relatives, all his friends, everything. That is just really profound to me, because when you think about it, you're giving up every single thing you ever knew in all your life.
Yeah.
But sometimes it takes that to see yourself and to know yourself. And I guess the Creator is still calling on us to do that. Kind of scary.
It is. And Pastor gives us an example of that all the time. He said something. He talked about when God first called him, and his reaction or his statement at one point was, "Okay, God, you take care of my family. You do this for me, and I'll walk with you. I'll go." And those are my words. Those aren't his. But what he's saying in essence is, I'm going to walk away from this. That I still love them. I'm still daddy. I'm still Uncle James. I'm still everything to everybody. But I'm going to allow you to change who I am. I'm going to allow you to make me into your image and likeness. And although walking away does not mean I don't see them every day, it means that I am willing to go through this transformation. The catalyst, the driving force in my life. I'm not here to tell you that family is not. I would never say that. My family is very important, and I don't have kids. But what I am saying is, not everyone is willing to do this. Take this journey. It is a feeling. It is a commitment. It is a desire to see and understand who you are. So that's what we mean by walk away. It does not. This is not so much a physical journey. If again you look at the earth or land as places or levels of consciousness, that's what this that's what this means. When you see him go from place to place, he's being elevated. His consciousness is being changed. He's being brought to a new place of awareness. All of this means something. All of these encounters with the people mean something. Okay? Questions or comments?
Have we gotten to Genesis 17 yet?
I'm headed there right now. You see something?
Yeah, the first verse. And
okay, let's read it. Okay.
It ties directly to what you guys have just been talking about.
Okay, I'm gonna read it, and I'm gonna let you go ahead with your comment or questions. Okay. Now, when Abram was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to Abram and said to him, "I am God Almighty. Walk before me and be blameless." Okay, I'll stop right there.
Okay.
You want me to read further? Okay, go ahead.
No, another reading says that I am El Shaddai. Walk in my ways and be blameless. And God means enough. I am enough. I am enough. I'm all that you need. Whatever it is, I am enough of what it is that you need. So at the time when God was telling him to walk in his ways means to let everything that he does be conditioned by his awareness of God being enough for him, the presence of God being enough for him. So whatever he thought, whatever decisions he made, walking in the ways of God means that everything I do is conditioned on the premise that I know that God is enough, which to us today says that walking as Elohim is conditioned on the premise that I understand who I am, that I am Elohim, and that the Creator is enough for anything that I need. I'll stop there.
Amen. You're right. And that does it, ties it all together. I'm gonna read a few more of these verses, and so we can continue the conversation. I will establish my covenant between me and you, and will multiply you exceedingly. And Abram fell on his face, and God talked with him, saying, "As for me, behold, my covenant is with you, and you shall be the father of a multitude of nations. No longer shall your name be called Abram, but your name shall be called Abraham, for I shall make you the father of a multitude of nations. And I will make you exceedingly fruitful, and will make nations of you, and kings shall come forth from you." Okay. Questions or comments, y'all?
What's the spiritual meaning behind nations?
Different cultures, different. In other words, it doesn't matter. You will touch everything, as Barbara just explained. God is saying, "I am enough. I'm everything that you're going to need. There is nothing else. There's nothing that you're going to encounter that you won't find your answer in me. There's nothing that no level of comfort that you can see. There is no type of substance that can bring you or nourishment, that can bring you health than what you were going to find in me." And I'm talking spiritually here. So nations is talking about all these cultures of the world, all these different places, all these different people. It doesn't matter. I am the center of the universe, and I am all. So all of them, all these multitudes, all of them are going to eventually see the enlightenment in your character, not the character of that you as a man, but the character you as the soul man in the earth, the human that is in the earth. Your character will move and be transcended to the place where people will recognize me and see that it is the enlightenment that is in you, that is shining, is the rhythm that they are seeking. And all these other things they've been chasing, all these other language they may have spoken, and different foods and different ethnic backgrounds, matters not. They have the same rhythm that you have. They just have to find it. They have to see it. And when they see it in you, they will desire it. Anyone else? Anyone else see that differently, or not differently so much as, but want to add to it or say something else?
This is Barbara. One of the things that as I studied this very briefly, if you look at the number, Aramaic letters, just like Hebrew letters, have numbers that correspond to them. And if you look at the new name of Abraham, it was changed from Abram to Abraham. Abraham, the numerical value for that is 248. And that's the exact number that corresponds to the bones and the bone segments in the human body. And so our connection then to that name sort of vibrates along because of that. And so the name itself becomes a healing kind of thing. Not only does the name remind Abraham of what God promised him, because every time somebody called his name, they would say, "Hey, God of many nations." That's what they would say, because that's what Abraham means. Even though he had not had a son given him and Sarah yet. he had Ishmael. Ishmael was, I think, 13 or so when God came to Abraham and told Abraham, I'm going to give you and Sarah a son in about a year's time, 9 months from now. You're going to have a son, and you're going to call it the name Isaac. So at that time, that's when he changed. It's like spiritual DNA when he changed his name and added the Hay to it, which is part of the name of God. It's like transforming. It's almost like if we thought physically changing somebody's DNA, it's like a spiritual DNA change when he changed it to Abraham, and that spiritual name then resonates within the human body itself because it's numbered the same as the bones in the human body. So it's just awesome the way that this connects in ways that we don't even understand. I'm done.
So is nations like an attitude then?
I'm sorry, what?
Is nation like an attitude? Does it represent like something like attitudes or something like that?
A nation, when Ron said culture, that culture is a physical aspect of the nation. But yes, from a spiritual perspective, a nation can represent an attribute, a type of attribute or an attitude.
Okay, that resonates with me also. Okay.
Yeah. Each nation, if you think about it, you have let's say here in North America, we have two neighboring nations, Mexico to the south of us and Canada to the north of us. And you can travel to any one of those places. And I'm just speaking of this from a practical perspective and see that they may do the same things you do in a different day, but they do them differently. The foods are different. Although they may eat and drink the same thing, they're different. I don't know how many of you have ever been to the Coca-Cola factory in Atlanta, but they have the museum has a tasting room that you can taste Coke from around the world, and you'll be surprised how different it tastes. So each country has developed their own way of doing things, their own way of enjoying food, and it may be out of necessity, maybe because of poverty, they're used to eating or drinking or doing things a different way. But what this is saying is, I'm going to transcend all of that. That rhythm that Barbara spoke of, that vibration in you is in every man. And every one of us, regardless, those things that you think, like Abraham and like Audrey pointed out, those things in you that are important, those things in you that you seem to make up who you are and your family and that you have become comfortable with, that will be challenged. Every nation in the earth will feel the vibration, will feel the rhythm of Elohim, will have the opportunity to be one with the universe. And you are the roadmap for that. You are the one that will show them that it is easier than you think. It is one thing to look at this and say, well, why me? How did I get here? Why would God do this for me? And you move to a place and you say, as Abraham did, fall on my face and say, thank you, Father. Thank you. Show me who I am. Show me what I am to do. Because the more, as we have found out, the more I learn to see Elohim in Ron, it points me to the universe. It points me to the fact that you are every man and every man is you. So the search for me has led me to the search for mankind. How do I reach mankind? And that is, as Barbara said, is done with the breath. She mentioned the letter Hey. Hey is when you read it, is a Hebrew letter and it means breath. And it is the letter, according to the Zohar, that God created the earth with, created the world with. And why does it say he created? Because he spoke it into existence. So you cannot speak without breath. So when God added the Hey to his name, as has been stated already, he changed his essence. In other words, you have made the choice to walk with me. You have turned away from being Abram, and I'm going to make you Abraham. You have turned away from being just mere Barbara, and I'm going to change your character because of it. I'm going to change or enhance who you are, so that you not only continue this journey, this transformation, but it will also allow others to see the light that is in you as you are being transformed. It marks the fact that I am one with Elohim. I am one. Does that help with nations? Does that help?
Yeah, Ron, what you're saying, it makes a lot of sense. It's resonating with me. Thank you.
Okay.
And Barbara,
okay.
Yes.
And just for a brief minute, a covenant is an agreement between two people, but this covenant that we have entered is when this resignation of this vibration and this rhythm that this covenant says that I will walk in the ways of Elohim. I will walk in the ways of God. I submit who I am. I see the higher self, as for lack of a better term. I see the elevated me. I see the benefit of being one with my soul. I see that I am more than a material being, and I choose to be one with Elohim. I choose to follow this path. So this covenant, this oneness, this agreement is I am one with you. We are one in the same. It is not so much that I'm on one end of this and you're on the other. It is that as I recognize who I am and I walk through this transformation, that I see that there is no space between us. Okay? The part of this that I found fascinating and I want to kind of talk about, I'm going to start at verse 10 and read that for a minute. This is my covenant which you shall keep between me and you and your descendants after you. Every male among you shall be circumcised, and you shall be circumcised in the flesh of your foreskin. And it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and you. And every male among you who is 8 days old shall be circumcised throughout your generation. Excuse me. Where was I? A servant who is born in the house or who is brought with money from any foreigner who is not of your descendant. A servant who is born in your house or who is brought with your money shall surely be circumcised. Thus shall my covenant be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. Okay. What is this talking about, y'all? Hello? Hey, guys, please mute your phones, please. Okay. What is this talking about? What is the importance of the circumcision?
circumcision was an outward physical reminder of the spiritual covenant that he made with Abraham and his descendants. Sort of like the symbol of the rainbow, is the reminder of the covenant of no more flooding. This was an outward symbol.
Okay. Anyone else?
Does it have to, circumcision also have something to do with your heart being circumcised as well?
Yeah, we'll get into that portion of it as well. But you're exactly right. And along with that, what you guys have just said, I should have pointed this out the first time, but starts in verse 15. Sarah's name was changed also, and if you notice, it is after you get both of their names changed, you get through the circumcision, and after that, Isaac is born. Isaac is born. There's new life after this takes place. I agree with everything that's been said. The thing too about the circumcision, as Barbara said, this was symbolic of the covenant, and in a practical way, we see this has to do with cleanliness and purification. And that too points to what Evelyn said about the heart, cleanliness and purification. In the spiritual sense, this is a very holy thing. The male organ and the female organ produces life. So what it is saying is, not only are you you walking in it, as been said earlier, is I have turned this way. This is the most important thing in my life now, and I'm walking this way, and every part of my being is with Elohim, and there is nothing more important than me understanding this awareness. So this circumcision is that purification, that I'm walking in this, and this means everything to me. This means that as my organ is the seed of life, and as I request life from Elohim has made me a promise that life will be purified, that life will be clean, that life will be the best that I can be. I'm willing to give my all to this. And that's part. My whole being is circumcised. My heart, my mind, everything is circumcised. I'm at one in being who I'm supposed to be. So we look at this and see that Isaac is born after this. This is as Barbara said, the outward commitment. This is also an internal thing. This is also an internal thing. I give all of my being to this. This is a holy thing. I step back and allow this to be done because I am one with Elohim, and there is nothing in between us. There is nothing between me and my wife. There is nothing that will come between me and these nations becoming the nations, changing the character in the earth the way Elohim has desired for me to be. This is a character change.
Ron.
Yes, ma'am.
This is Beth. I know we have talked about this before, but what is the significance of the name change of Sarah, Abraham, Laban?
Of Sarah and Abraham? Well, the hay was also added to her name, as we explained with Abraham. it is symbolic of the breath that created the earth. It is said in that God created the world with the letter Hey, and the letter Hey means that you cannot speak. He created the breath. Created the world by word. So it is saying that you are one with me. This is symbolic of you being your higher self. You are a creator along with me. You are enlightenment along with me. So that is no coincidence that he did it to he and to Sarah, so that they are both one. It is showing the balance in the earth between the feminine and the masculinity. So this is an elevation. This is a higher place of awareness. And I keep saying that, but for lack of a word, other way of saying it, that this is where life comes from now. So this higher place of awareness, this place is significant of bringing forth new life into the earth. This is the birth of this new nation, the first birth in this new covenant that we have with Elohim. So that's the symbolicness of it. Can someone else say it differently? Or
so I'm seeing too that once it happened, so from this day forward, that's when they recognized about the covenant, about their position, even their thoughts changed.
Yes,
I
think that's what I'm trying to say.
That's correct. It's because he said not only for you, Abraham, but to all of your descendants.
Yes.
I will be your God, and you will walk in my ways.
Okay.
Hey, good morning, everyone.
Go ahead, George. Wait, hold on, George. Bessie, are you satisfied? It doesn't sound like you are, or are you comfortable?
Yeah, I said thank you on the end. I said thank you. I am.
I'm sorry. I did not hear you. I just wanted to make sure you were clear or comfortable how we answered. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. George, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
With the name change, God may not have to change your name. Sometimes you can change your name. Sometimes your circle of influence or the circle that influences you can change your name. Some people know me as George. Some people know me as Watson. Some people know me as Quicksand. If you go to the people who know me as Quicksand and you say, George curse a lot, they would tell you, I ain't never heard him curse before. So when we take on different names, we take on a different character. And having conversations with myself, just as an example, George does not feel that he is loved unconditionally. George feels that he is loved under the condition of what he provide and what he do. Quicksand takes a different approach. Quicksand does not believe that. Quicksand says, George, you are loved unconditionally. And Quicksand gives facts to George, and George sometimes may give beliefs or facts to Quicksand. So when these names change, sometimes the personality of it changes. For the people who do know me as Quicksand, when they call me and they say, George, I automatically know they need something. It's something of a serious nature. Or it may not be a serious nature. They just may need directions. if they just come, hey, Quicksand, man, I'm just a little tired out here, man. Let's have a conversation. So in the name changing, if Mr. George out of Philly, some people may know him as Clark. Some people may know him as George. So if you got two different names that you respond to, look at how those people respond to you, comparing it to your original name. So I don't really know if it got anything to do with the lesson or not. However, when...
Well, you make a good point, though. You make a good point. It is slightly different. If I can take you to 5 different places, and you may hear people call me 5 different names, and that's based on what they know me as and our relationship. And some of it is when they knew a very immature Ron, knew me at a very young age. So, and you're right, all of it speaks to character and how they know you. And that's the thing that what you're saying has in common with the scripture. His character changes. It's not the important part is not so much that I expect that my name or Barbara's name or even your name will be changed in this physical world, but what I'm in a very spiritual way, you are the one that changes your name in the instance that we're talking about here. You make the decision that I want to be one with Elohim. You are the one who goes through the transformation and changes your character. Allow the Creator to change your character. So that's the difference here. This is not, just this is probably a little different because of the spiritual nature of it. So the character change here is based on something that is deeper and more than just the name change itself. The name change is just pointing out to us that the character has changed and who and what this character has changed to. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah, Ron?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good morning. This is George. I just want to respond, to my brother George's comment. And truly what has helped me to appreciate who I am today is the name change. And so, for me personally, I know my name, George Clark, but what I've done was to put the I am before my first and last names. And the purpose of that is to reverence, who I am today in terms of I am George Clark. So again, in terms of what has encouraged me is to realize that just as we see God change the name of Abram to Abraham or to Sarah, it's again, we could be changed too. And I think that when we talk about the importance of I am, 2 of the most powerful words in existence, for what you put after them, you become. So yeah. I am GRC, George Robert Clark. And I think personally for me, I want to make it personal, because just as we see the name changes in the Bible, we understand in terms of we take on the mind of Christ. And so I think all of these revelations, help us to truly be able to appreciate the spiritual I am that I am versus just the name. So as I say, that has helped me, immensely in terms of seeing my own name change as I reverence the I am, the great I am first. Yeah, I'm done. I just want to share that thought.
And George, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I don't. When I say we are the same journey as Abraham, I mean that. I truly do believe that we've had name changes, and it is evident by the character that we are, the growth that we are, the lessons that we encounter. So, and even the things that we see happen in the earth, how we handle them and how we stay on focus and on point. as to being loving kindness and being forgiveness and being compassion and all the revelation and all the wisdom that God shows us and that we discuss and put in the macro. I indeed do think we've had name changes, but it's not so much that I'm going to be called something different, but hopefully that you see the character change in me as I continue this journey. Okay? There's a part of this I don't want us to miss. In verse again, I'm sorry. Are there any more questions or comments?
I have one.
Yes,
I have one before we move on. George, the first George, the George in South Carolina, he had a valid point as far as us changing our names, because the God in us, isn't that the God that we are? Isn't that what changes our name? Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Changing our perspective of how we see things.
Because we.
Well, now add to that, Evelyn's question. Good morning. This is Kathy. I agree, Evelyn, and I agree with everything that has been said. But the God that is in me, when I begin to see who I am, I think that's when the change occurs. I've got to see. I've got to know. That's what Barbara has been talking about, knowing. When I recognize that I, too, am in covenant, when I recognize that, yeah, I'm Smitty to somebody, Kathy D to someone else, Kathy Diane to someone else, all of these different names based on how people know me. But at the end of the day, how do I know myself? What am I seeing myself as? That's what George was saying. When he says, I am George Robert Park, when he adds that I am, that's because he sees himself as I am. So when we're talking about the internal change, it starts when I begin to recognize who I am, if that makes sense. And I just wanted to share that. Does that make sense, Evelyn?
Yes, that resonates. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Questions, comments? Thank you.
Hey, Ron, this is Charles. Hey, Charles. I heard George in Philly and George in South Carolina, and I understand what they were saying too. And I believe, in your name change with other people, it makes out your characters and stuff like that. And I'm seeing what all y'all been saying, and I've been hearing everything you've been saying. And what got me is God is looking for people to worship Him. He's looking for people to stand up for Him, because in His heart, everyone don't want to stray. They worship the homes, they worship their houses, they worship their children, they worship images, and they ain't worship themselves being on a high pedestal of the world when people look up at them and tell them, man, that man's a good man, he's this and that. But no one is walking the road and being in a straight line with the Father. Everyone doing their own thing. Everyone being their own person. But they ain't being who God had told them to be. Ever since this creation, He is always using someone to be what He needs them to be. He used Abraham. After Abraham, He used other people, and He used the worst part of it when He used Noah to blot out man, but God made a covenant with Noah to walk with Him. It's been going on for ages. Our Creator created us to worship Him in all our being. He knows all this stuff that you can use and is enhanced in your everyday walking as human, but he wants you to be godly. And what I mean by godly, He wants you to see Him. And he wants you to see him with your heart instead of just your eye. If you can see him with that no eye, you're doing good. But everyone, that's why we having all this storms, hail, whatever, come. It used to be in the far countries. It ain't in the far country no more. United States getting it too now. And no one, everybody's still asleep. I wonder what it's going to take. Now, I ain't saying everybody. I'm talking about myself too. I wonder what it's going to take for us to really wake up and see all this stuff going to pass away. There's any other clothes on your back ain't no do you no good. It's just for other people. Damn, all your wealth, none of that's going to do you no good. That Red was saying before. You can be the richest man in the world, but if you get sick and it takes all that money, you're done. God is looking for someone to love him, your creator, the one that made you, the one that formed you. Everyone hears him, but they don't hear him in a state that would shock them, like suscitate to shock you. Where I understand, but this right here is shocking you if you really listening to it. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Charles. I appreciate that. You said a lot, and I think I would hope that part of the awakening that you mentioned is what we're doing right now, and it is our desire as well to influence the entire world. I think, as you mentioned, some of the patriarchs, one of the things that sticks out to me with Moses is God allowed Moses to speak to him on behalf of the people. In other words, God says, this should be your judgment. And Moses would say, wait a minute, let's look at this. Let's talk about this. And of course, he didn't say it in that way, but I don't remember word for word how it was said. But God listened to him because who Moses was. Moses gave himself to God and said, I am your servant. I walk with you. And I think along those same lines, we have also made that surrender, made that type of declaration that we are willing to stand in the gap for mankind. And I think that awakening that we are going through, we are asking the Creator to have mercy on mankind and allow us to be the enlightenment, be the forgiveness and the love that the earth needs. So you're right on point. And someone else, please, anyone else care to comment on what Charles said?
Yeah, Ron, I like to just, mention when Charles, mentioned about worship, in John chapter 4, verse 23, it says, but the hour is coming and is now here when the true worships will worship the Father in spirit and truth. For the Father is seeking such people to worship him. And I think that, again, as he talked about worship as far as in spirit and in truth, I mean, that's, what I truly believe our desire is to be able to be in pursuit of truth. And I think this is what's giving us this awakening for us to be able to truly come into the knowledge of who we really are. And so I think that, Ron, so eloquently you're teaching today in terms of being able to have us see it for ourselves. Because as I say before, it's nice that other people can be resurrected. But I think that is truly a time and season and appointed time now where we are resurrected. And that's the beauty of, the teaching that's in the day. So I thank you, for your, your teaching, Ron. I'm done.
Thank you, George. Anyone else?
Ron, I want to add one thing to what Charles said because he said a lot and it was strong and powerful. and he said that looking for God is wanting looking. We are looking for God. God is wanting us to be Him, and he spoke of awakening, and that awakening speaks to awakening to seeing God in me. And when I am looking for God, I find me. And when I find myself, and I am now recognizing that I am one with, then I have a heart and mind to be my brother's keeper. Then I have a heart and mind to be loving kindness, to be forgiveness, to usher all of this into this realm, as we say, put it in the macro, so that we can become one with all things, and be no one thing, but be everything, and be what I need to be to whomever I need to be it to at whatever time. But that awakening speaks to awakening to seeing God in me. And when I recognize that I am looking for the Father and I and the Father are one, then I have that attitude and that personality to do those things that makes me truly care about humanity and being my brother's keeper. And I just wanted to add that to what y'all said. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Kathy? I'm sorry, Ron. Kathy,
yeah, no, go ahead.
What she just said is that I found this, and I hope I'm pronouncing it right. There's a Sufi proverb, and I had shared it with Evelyn when she was asking or searching one day, and it said, I searched for God and found only myself. I searched for myself and found only God. And I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. That is powerful. I love that.
I like that. Yeah. I want to point something out today. And I want us to see who and what we are and appreciate it. I got a call this morning from Pastor. I just walked back in. I went out and ran some errands this morning. And because I didn't expect to have to speak today. And I looked at my watch, and it was 9 o'clock, and I said, well, I better get back home. So I get back home, and I'm going to fix me some breakfast and take a shower and whatnot. And my phone rings, and I look, because I knew Pastor was going to call me. We talk every Saturday morning. But it's about 20 till, and he calls me and tells me he's under the weather, and he's not going probably won't call in today. And I immediately looked at the clock, and I'm thinking, okay. And I got off the phone with him, and I called Barbara, and then I called Kathy, and let them know to see if anybody had a lesson. So when both of them said, no, I don't have anything just yet, I said, I hung up the phone, and I said, well, you know what? You don't have time to panic. You don't have time to do anything but take a deep breath. So I did. I took a deep breath and just said, okay, Lord, you knew this was going to happen. Give us something. So what I want to say is every question that was asked today took us to a different place. Every comment, everything that people said, and some of the questions you guys asked, I attempted to answer and didn't feel like I answered, but somebody came and said the right thing. Somebody answered it enough to the person answering the question said, yeah, I like the answer. I'm satisfied with that answer. So I look at the spiritual being that we talk about, the name changes and all these things, the circumcision. Look at who we are. And the oneness, the uniqueness that comes from these lessons, the things that we put in the macro, the things that somebody who doesn't talk all the time or says something that opens up a new layer of something and allows somebody to bring enlightenment that wouldn't have been spoken unless the question was asked. Mm-hmm. So I love this, and I thank the Creator this morning that I didn't panic, and that He answered us, because we are one. and we are on this journey together, and we are the enlightenment to the earth. This thing is real, and every one of us takes the step of an Abraham. I'm going to show you something. This was the thing I wanted to show you. Verse 11 and 17 says, and you shall be circumcised in the flesh on the foreskin, and there shall be a sign in the, because that wasn't what I want to read. Where is it? This time, and everyone among you, verse 12, and every male among you who is 8 days old shall be circumcised. Why 8 days? 7 is the number of completion. 7 says it is done, it is full. 8 is a new beginning. 8 says, okay, you have done this thing. Now let's start this. You finished with 7, so now you're prepared to do this. This is complete. You're finished with first grade, and first grade has prepared you. It has given you the fundamentals to go to second grade. So let's put a cap on this and move on. So your spiritual being, your willingness, as everyone has said, to embark on this journey and to allow your culture and your character to change has moved you to this place. You should be purified now, and everything about you should be pure. You will be new life. Your seed will be new life. You will be a new voice. Your breath is anew. Your breath carries creation. So I just thank everybody for everything that was said. I think this has been a beautiful morning. I know we still have time, but as far as I look, as far as studying, looking at something for today, if there's anything else, any other questions or comments, or something else that someone sees that they want to bring up, please feel free. Or anything else that you want to add to what is being said.
Well, this is Angela. I wanted to ask, why does it say male in the verse that you just read?
Well, the circumcision, this is talking about the male organ. Is and as Evelyn pointed out, it's talking about the heart. It's talking about purification of you. But this is specifically talking about the male organ here, and it goes hand in hand as we tried to explain with the name changes of Abram and Sarah. They have this purification is for both of them, and as you see, because of it, new life comes about. The birth of Isaac comes from this. So it's talking about the seed of mankind, and let's if we can, Angela, examine that a little bit. When we talk about from a spiritual nature, this is not just talking about me as a male. You can carry a seed as well. Whenever you speak something, whenever you teach something, whenever someone on your job comes to you and needs enlightenment on something. So we are both being spiritual beings, and somebody help me with this because I don't want to be confusing. We are male and female. There are things that we are interchangeable. We are strong, sometimes strong and judgmental, and sometimes we're soft and merciful and loving kindness. We are both. We have attributes of both, but this is specifically talking about the male organ. And I know when I said that the first time, I was trying not to talk about it too much. I just took for granted everybody knew what that meant. Sometimes we don't know who's on the line, but yeah. Angela, does that help, or can somebody else help me out with that to talk about the significance of it?
Yes, that helps.
Okay.
Ron.
Good morning. I'm sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
Good morning. This is Mary. I was just thinking, it's something about, and so I'm just thinking, so I'm thinking it out. One thing about the feminine part is that seems to be more open, more accepting, more nurturing. Well, we are nurturers. And the male has to, and it's something dealing with that, because I think about all of the people. Look how many men on the line versus the women. That women are the feminine, not women, but the feminine aspect of us is more open, more accepting, more, seeking after God. And I may be off base, whereas the male has to have that constant reminder, and maybe that's why the outside circumcision, whereas with the feminine aspect, we got it, and we're still growing, and we're trying to learn, and does that make sense?
It does, and I want somebody to help me with this, and because you bring up a good point. How I see this is, Mary, one is no more important than the other, though. You in everything in life, there is a give and take. There seems to be duality in every aspect of our lives in order to bring balance. The magical part of duality, the beautiful part of duality is for you to become one. And it doesn't mean that because I'm a male that I'm stronger. It means in some aspects of whatever relationship is, I use my strengths and you use your strength. For example, in a marriage, you may see one couple does things a certain way and another couple does things a different way. You move to a point where whatever works in that marriage, and it may, and you may hear me say this, or I've said before, and I don't see there's such thing as a 50-50 marriage. There are some things that she's better at, let her do them. There are some things he's better at, let him do them. And the rest of it you meet in the middle. So I characteristic wise, I haven't really, I think the scriptures are male dominated primarily because they were written by men, and for the most part, they've been taught by men, and we've learned to understand it that way. From a spiritual perspective, it doesn't matter to me that the women's role in this it seemed to be minute. I think the balance is understanding the energy of it, and using the energy and being in rhythm with the energy of it. So when you see it from that perspective, it kind of shows you the balance of it all. And I, you know what, I feel like I'm doing a lousy job asking you a question, and somebody can help me with it, please.
Yeah, no, Ron, I think you're doing an excellent job, Ron, in explaining it, and I truly believe that, we're grasping it, in our spirit. And I just say it in a way where, as a male, I truly appreciate the day, the Aquarian age that we're in terms of the feminine principles that are being so prevalent in terms of, as a male, seeking the feminine side in me. We both know that we have both parents, that have nurtured us, that have birthed us. And I think that we're in a time now that the feminine principles are being so strong that those of us who have a desire to appreciate the two becoming one, it's just an awesome time, to be living in, because I truly believe those of us who are receiving this is seeing it from that nurturing side. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that in terms of it being very clear to me that maybe I need to even search more to understand my feminine energy, as a male, for the purpose of being able to see change, in our universe. So I just wanted to share that thought. I'm done.
And you're absolutely right, George. I think that's all a part of our journey. Being in touch with ourselves, and I agree with that. Being truthful about it. Anyone else, though? Anyone? I think it's a
Ron?
good question.
Ron?
Yes, ma'am.
This is Audrey.
Hey.
I'm kind of going off into left field here, but getting back to what Mary was saying about why did they say males? If I recall correctly, males were circumcised for health reasons, for cleanliness and health reasons. In the practical, and then it was also the spiritual circumcision of the heart. But my point is, getting back to her saying males, because the reason I'm bringing this up is in Arab countries, in Africa, they practice female circumcision, which is like anathema to the scripture. And to some extent, when they cut the girls, they cut so much, they cut like everything, and it turns into just genital mutilation. So there are thousands of girls that are suffering because some imam, some whoever declared that this should happen to girls. And it's way, way, way beyond the scriptures. So I think Mary has a valid point in asking why is it just saying males when it's been turned around in Islam and in various other African cultures to mean that it should be not only the males, but the females, and the females to such an extent that sometimes they're cut so badly they have to be sewn up again, and then it's just, I'm even having a hard time describing it, because some of it can be just really horrendous in terms of these 10, maybe even 5-year-old girls being mutilated because of some belief that's just not even part of the scripture. Anyway, but I think we have to deal with that at some point, because it's also patriarchy trying to control women or girls. And
yeah,
I mean, with that kind of thing happening, how do girls see who they are? It's just horrendous. But yeah, I feel like we need to deal with that at some point.
I couldn't agree more, Audrey. I did some reading on that because I find that to be totally disgusting. And I don't know why someone doesn't do anything about it. It is mutilation, and I guess because it's being done to women of color, it's not a primary thing to those who set laws. But
right.
What I read about it was really kind of not shocking, but really disappointing. part of the belief is they don't think that women should enjoy sex. And they think that if a woman enjoys sex too much, she'll be more promiscuous. So it really has nothing to do with Scripture. It just some barbaric something that some man came up with, and somebody thought it was a good idea. And it is a practice that's been going on for I don't know how many years. I guess for a very long time. And you're right; it needs to be dealt with. It's ridiculous. And as you said, from looking at what we just read in the Scriptures, this was done for a purification, and that is spiritually as well as in a practical sense. Okay, but someone else was going to speak as well. Please feel free.
Yes, sir, Ron. This is Amir. I wanted to speak a minute to symbolism. One thing is that, speaking of the organs, the male organ is outward and you can see it as visible, just like we can look around creation and see it's outward and visible. But the circumcision of the heart is the feminine, because the woman you go inward into the woman. It's a symbol of security, of birth, of where we came from. Our homes are like a womb. We go into our homes for security and safety. The atmosphere around the earth is like a womb. The womb is a symbol of mystery, of hiddenness. And man, because we have two heads, a little head and a big head, we've been confused with the two. We're captives of tradition, like the Taliban, like this general mutilation, captives of traditions that are, like you said, not based on the Word of God. And so I think that these messengers and prophets were all brought to us to teach boys how to be men, but we don't learn anything about them in school. This education is nothing but a propaganda tool and an indoctrination into a man-made system. And God needs to be part, and we can, there's just so much there to see, to read, to understand. But that's all I had anyway. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your addition.
Hey, Ron.
Yes, sir.
See, the thing is, they don't blow it all out of proportion about women. I mean, the circumstance of man, it's where their heart was. Will you do this for the Father? And see, a man is more hard-headed than a woman. A woman is real susceptible to listen to the Father. Because if that wasn't true, there wouldn't be so many women seeking the Father more than a man. They say a man, he's hard-headed, he won't put his spin and stuff in it. So that's why, at first Abraham didn't want to get circumcised until his wife Sarah told him to get circumcised, because I think he had fell sick. Either Abraham or Moses, one told him he had fell sick because he didn't want to get circumcised. But when he got circumcised, or that she cut him off or cut it out or whatever, he was healed. So I'm saying, this right here was for a man to know where his heart for. Is you willing to do this for me? It's just like he wanted to circumcise his son, not circumcise his son, kill his son, because everything else doesn't matter. But Abraham knew that God was going to bring him back to life or whatever. That's how I see it.
Okay, thank you, Charles. Maybe one day it'll be a good lesson to talk about the relationship with masculine and feminine energy, and to look at it from not only a practical perspective, but a spiritual perspective, and see how that brings balance, not only to a relationship, but balance into the earth, that both are needed. And you heard me say at one time, I think one of the things that we have to pull from the scriptures is that it was written by men, and a lot of our understanding, at least for those of us who were raised primarily in a church setting, it was taught to us by men, and the role that women played in scripture was diminished intentionally. And well, maybe some of it was unintentional, maybe it was out of ignorance, but diminished still the same. And we can sit down and talk about that, why that is significant, and what that means to us right now. Because I love the way we embrace feminine energy, the roles that we play in our relationships over this phone, and how that leads us when we get off the phone, how that leads us to respect and treat all the people that we see on a Monday through Friday basis. So that may be a good discussion. I totally agree with Audrey, though. Some of that stuff, the mutilation stuff, is something that we need to deal with the way we have dealt with some other things. So any other questions or comments before we move on?
Excuse me, Ron. Just this is Amir. Just one last comment, and that's that the story has been written by a man from the beginning. We told his story. Today, women are writing her story, and I think that's going to balance things out as well as we go along, as we learn more. Thank you.
Thank you. That reminds me of something that I'm excited about as we move into this new dimension of that we will going into. We talking about the age of Aquarius and the realness of that and what that means. And as we walk in it, as we move in it, we move in it with your heart in balance. And you have to know or give some thought to anyway that we are going to have a leading role in this. This is about equality. It is about treating people the right way. It is about defining and showing people what love and kindness looks like. And whoever you know, as the Father has brought us this far, and I do not think that the wisdom will escape us and leave us at this point. So we walking in this, and we are at this place for a reason. It may be that this group of people, through our discussions, through our desire, you are the ones who have brought in the age of Aquarius. You are the one who have ushered this in. So I leave you with that. Give this some thought, and hopefully we had a thought today. If not, we have tomorrow to talk about questions and or comments. Don't know where we're going tomorrow, but that's okay too. Again, I want to remind everybody that Monday we will not have class because of the holiday being Labor Day, okay? I look forward to seeing you tomorrow if there are no more questions or comments.
I just have one, man.
Oh.
I just have one. It's just like when creation was dead, God told man to keep the garden and protect it. He didn't say he didn't tell woman, he told man. And so that's why I said all this stuff they talking about circumcise a woman, that's not the debate. And that was it.
Yeah, Charles, I guess I see that part a little differently, and maybe we can start there tomorrow. I think that was mankind. I think Adam was both masculine and feminine, and it is easy for us to separate him because that's what we've been taught to do. But I think what that was saying and is your balance is going to bring life to this. Your balance is what will protect this. So I see that maybe a little different because I see Adam as being one being, and that is what, in a sense, what we've talked about today. When I talk about us being a group and being one, we're one being. We're one with the Creator. So the life that we produce and put in the earth, it is from the seed and the womb of these discussions. Not any one person. You see what I mean? So it is infused with feminine and masculine energy that these discussions go forth. And that's the beauty of them and the strength of them. Okay?
Okay.
Anyone else? Is somebody else about to say something?
Yes, this was Angela. I was going to ask, the name change for Sarah and Abraham, it kind of balance each other out because I was looking at one is feminine and one is masculine, so it doesn't balance. Well, it does balance each other out, or I don't know how to say it, but
you're saying it. You're exactly right, and that balance is what brought about new life. Yeah, you're exactly right. Thank you for that. That's a good one too. Good place to end.
Ron?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
The thing is, if the Creator had just changed Abraham's name and not changed Sarah's name, there wouldn't have been balance. So we have to
say it again, Audrey.
If the Creator had
say that one more time.
If the Creator had only changed Abraham's name and left Sarah, there wouldn't have been balance at all.
Correct.
So he had to change both.
He had to. You're correct. You're correct. And that was done so because they were one. They were one. Look at the journey they took. They were one. As far as being in the book, it separates them, and rightfully so. That's how we see it. But I agree with the pastor's observation the other day. If we see these things as an allegory, we can glean, to me anyway, a clearer picture of what is being said. But you're exactly right. It would not have been balanced. Okay. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate everybody's input. This was a very good day. Thank you very much. And any questions or comments that you have, let's address them first thing tomorrow morning, okay? I hope everybody have a great day.
Thank you.
You too, Ron.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.